In the heart of Texas, the land holds secrets darker than its endless skies. Beneath the sun-baked soil and among the whispering winds lies a tale of unspeakable horror waiting to be unearthed. This is not just a story, it's a descent into madness, where the line between hunter and hunted is blurred, and the screams of the innocent echo long after the chainsaw's roar fades. Welcome to the nightmare of the Texas Chainsaw Horror. On a scorching summer day, 5 friends set out on a road trip across Texas. Kelly, the adventurous spirit, had convinced her boyfriend Mark, along with their friends Jess, Liam, and Amber, to explore an old, abandoned asylum rumored to be haunted. As they drove deeper into the desolate countryside, they noticed the asphalt becoming rougher, the roads narrower, and the trees denser. It felt as if the landscape itself was closing in on them, a prelude to the terror they would soon face. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the landscape, they arrived at a gas station. The building looked like it hadn't been touched in years, and the smell of decaying wood filled the air. An old man with clouded eyes and a sinister grin greeted them. His voice was gravelly, almost as if it hadn't been used in ages. "Y'all lost?" he asked, his smile never reaching his eyes. The group exchanged uneasy glances. "We're looking for the old asylum," Kelly replied, trying to keep her tone light. The old man's grin widened. "You don't want to go poking around those parts. Bad things happen there, always have." Despite the warning, the group decided to press on. As they drove away, they noticed the old man watching them from the rearview mirror, his gaze fixed and unblinking. After a long drive through winding roads and dense woods, they finally arrived at the abandoned asylum. The building was a decaying relic of a bygone era, its windows shattered and its walls covered in ivy and graffiti. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding. As they explored the asylum, the sun dipped below the horizon, plunging the world into darkness. Armed with flashlights, they wandered through the building, each room more unsettling than the last. In the dim light, they discovered old patient records, medical equipment, and disturbing drawings on the walls. Images of faceless figures, eyes scratched out, and twisted forms. In the bowels of the asylum, they stumbled upon a room filled with old photographs and newspaper clippings. The headlines told tales of mysterious disappearances, unexplained deaths, and bizarre experiments. It became clear that the asylum had a dark history, one steeped in horror and madness. As they delved deeper, an unsettling realization set in. They were not alone. Faint noises echoed through the halls, footsteps, whispers, and the distant hum of machinery. The tension in the group rose, their nerves frayed by the oppressive atmosphere. Then, they heard it, a guttural, mechanical roar that sent shivers down their spines. It was unmistakable, a chainsaw. Panic set in as they realized they had wandered into a trap. They bolted towards the exit, only to find the door they had entered through was now locked. The sound of the chainsaw grew closer, accompanied by heavy, labored breathing. In their frantic search for a way out, they stumbled upon a hidden basement. The air was damp and foul, reeking of decay. As they descended the stairs, they found themselves in a nightmarish chamber filled with gruesome trophies, skeletal remains, blood-stained clothing, and a collection of crude, handmade masks. The reality of their situation became horrifyingly clear. They had walked into the lair of a family of sadistic murderers. The group split up, desperately trying to find an escape. Mark and Kelly headed towards what looked like a maintenance tunnel, while Jess, Liam, and Amber sought another exit. The echoing roar of the chainsaw reverberated through the halls, accompanied by the maniacal laughter of their unseen pursuer. As Jess, Liam, and Amber navigated the dark corridors, they encountered the first of their tormentors, a towering figure wearing a mask of human skin, brandishing a blood-stained chainsaw. His eyes were wild, filled with a terrifying blend of madness and glee. Jess screamed as the chainsaw roared to life, and they fled deeper into the asylum, the killer close behind. In the maintenance tunnel, Mark and Kelly found a series of old, rusted pipes. As they tried to find a way through, they stumbled upon a horrific sight, a makeshift operating table covered in dried blood, surrounded by surgical tools. The realization hit them like a punch to the gut. This was where the family conducted their grisly rituals. As they scrambled to leave, the walls seemed to close in around them. The sound of footsteps and the low hum of the chainsaw filled the air. Panic-stricken, they navigated the labyrinthine tunnels, the fear of being caught propelling them forward. Liam, Jess, and Amber found themselves cornered in a decrepit, once sterile room now defiled by age and horror. The masked man approached, his chainsaw roaring as he lifted it high. In a desperate bid for survival, Liam grabbed a rusted metal pipe from the floor and swung it with all his strength. The impact knocked the killer off balance, giving them a moment to flee. Meanwhile, Mark and Kelly stumbled upon an old generator room, In a stroke of luck, they managed to start the generator, flooding the asylum with flickering yellowed lights. The sudden illumination revealed the true extent of the horror around them. Blood-smeared walls, grotesque carvings, and the faces of the missing, preserved in jars like trophies. The lights also revealed more of the twisted family. Besides the chainsaw-wielding giant, there was an elderly matriarch with a cruel smile, and a hulking figure with a sledgehammer. The family had been terrorizing the area for decades, luring travelers into their lair and dispatching them in gruesome rituals. The group reunited, but the nightmare was far from over. With the asylum fully lit, the family closed in on them. A frantic battle ensued as the friends fought for their lives. Jess, in a moment of bravery, grabbed a scalpel from a nearby tray and slashed at the masked giant, buying them a few precious seconds. In a desperate race against time, the group made their way to an emergency exit they had previously overlooked. The door was barricaded, but with their combined strength, they managed to break through. As they burst into the night air, the cool breeze was a stark contrast to the oppressive, blood-soaked atmosphere of the asylum. But the family was relentless. The masked giant, now bleeding and enraged, charged after them, chainsaw in hand. In a final confrontation, Mark managed to trip the giant, causing him to fall onto his own weapon. The chainsaw roared one last time before falling silent, the killer's manic energy finally extinguished. The survivors ran into the woods, the asylum fading into the distance. The night's horrors had left them scarred, but they were alive. As dawn broke, they emerged onto a road where a passing truck driver found them, disheveled and traumatized. They were safe, but the memories of that night would haunt them forever. The asylum was soon discovered by authorities, who uncovered the grisly truth of the family's decades-long reign of terror. The story became a sensation, with the media dubbing it the Texas Chainsaw Horror. The surviving friends tried to move on, but the nightmares lingered, a constant reminder of the nightmare they had escaped. Years later, the old asylum stands abandoned, a silent witness to the atrocities committed within its walls. Locals avoid the area, whispering tales of ghosts and the restless spirits of the family's victims. Some say on quiet nights you can still hear the faint echo of a chainsaw's roar, carried on the wind like a haunting lullaby. The legend of the Texas Chainsaw Horror lives on, a chilling reminder that some horrors are all too real, and that the darkest nightmares are not confined to the realm of fiction.